So what's the secret sauce? You know, the thing that makes some companies absolutely crush it while others just fail? Well, it's not luck. It's strategy. Today, we're going to break down what it is, how it really works, and why it's probably the most powerful tool in all of business. Let's get into it.
You've got to wonder about this, right? I mean, think about the companies you really admire. They always seem to be a step ahead, don't they? They're innovating, they're growing, they're just winning. And then you look at their competitors, and it feels like they're constantly playing catch-up. So what's the real difference here?
The answer, and this is the whole key, isn't luck. Not even close. It's strategy. A clear, focused, and, this is crucial, well-executed strategy is the engine that drives success. It's what separates the leaders from everybody else.
Okay, so what makes a strategy good? It's not some crazy complicated secret formula that only a few people know. It's actually a really simple but powerful framework that has just 3 core elements. Let's break them down. Think of it kind of like a trip to the doctor. First, you get the diagnosis. What's the real challenge we're facing? Not just the symptoms, but the root cause. Then you get the guiding policy. This is the overall approach, the big idea for how you're going to tackle that challenge. And finally, you have a set of coherent actions. These are the specific, concrete steps you're going to take to make that policy a reality. Diagnosis, policy, action. That, right there, is the core of any great strategy. The absolute legend Michael Porter said it perfectly. Strategy is all about being different, and you got to pay attention to that word deliberately. This isn't about accidentally falling into a market gap. No, it's a conscious, intentional choice to do things differently to create value that no one else can.
Peter Drucker gives us another awesome way to look at it. He called strategy a company's theory of the business. I love that. It's basically their hypothesis, their educated bet on how the world works and how they're going to win in the future.
And Henry Mintzberg brings it all home by reminding us that strategy isn't just some dusty plan on a shelf. It's a pattern in a stream of decisions. In other words, your actions speak way louder than your mission statement. It's what you do, day in and day out, that defines your real strategy. Consistency is everything. So, we get the theory now. But how do you actually build one of these things? Let's look at the building blocks that take you from some huge, lofty idea all the way down to the actions you take every single day. This chart here shows how it all flows together. Way up at the top, you've got your purpose. That's your why, your fundamental reason for even existing. That inspires a vision, which is the future you want to create. Your mission is what you're doing right now to make that vision happen. And your objectives? Those are the concrete, measurable goals that tell you if you're on track. It's this beautiful funnel from the abstract down to the totally actionable. And this way of thinking applies at every single level of a company. Corporate strategy is the big picture stuff. Think of a company like Disney deciding, hey, we're going to get into the streaming business with Disney+. That's a huge corporate decision. Then you have business strategy, which is how a specific unit, like Disney+, is going to compete against Netflix. And then functional strategy is how each department, marketing, tech, you name it, is going to support that goal. It all has to work together, perfectly in sync. Okay, now for the how. Look, a great strategy is totally useless without a great process to bring it to life. And this isn't a one-and-done thing. It's a continuous cycle that we call strategic management.
I really love this definition. It's both an art and a science. You need that creativity, but you also need the hard data to back it up. And that phrase, cross-functional decisions, is so important. Strategy isn't just for the executives in some boardroom. It's a team sport that has to bring the entire organization together.
The whole process really breaks down into 3 simple stages. First, formulation. That's the thinking. Then, implementation. That's the doing. And finally, evaluation. That's the checking. Think, do, check. It really is that straightforward.
So in that formulation stage, you're basically doing your homework. You're scanning the horizon for new opportunities and potential threats. You're taking a hard look in the mirror to really understand your company's strengths and weaknesses. This is where you make those tough choices and set your direction.
Now, implementation. This is where strategy becomes reality. And honestly, it's the hardest part. This is where most strategies fail. A brilliant strategy that isn't executed is just a PowerPoint deck. This is all about putting your people, your money, and your culture behind the plan and actually making it happen. And finally, evaluation. You gotta ask, is it working? Are we hitting our numbers? Has the world changed since we made this plan? This is where you have to be brutally honest. Look at the cold, hard results and be ready to pivot and adapt.
This flowchart here shows the whole thing in action. You can see how formulation, implementation, and evaluation are all connected. But look closely at those feedback loops. That's the real magic. This isn't a straight line that just ends. It's a continuous cycle of learning, doing, and adapting. It's a living, breathing process.
You know, after all the diagrams and definitions and jargon, it all boils down to these three beautifully simple questions. Where are we now? Where do we want to go? And how are we going to get there? Seriously, every successful business on the planet has clear, compelling answers to these questions.
So why does all this matter? I mean, what's the real payoff for all this hard work? Let's talk about the results, because that's what it's all about.
This slide just says it all. With a strategy, you are proactive. You're in the driver's seat shaping your own destiny. Without one, you're just reactive, constantly putting out fires and getting pushed around by whatever the market throws at you. So you have to ask yourself, who do you want to be?
And yeah, it shows up in the bank account. The numbers don't lie. Companies that are serious about strategy consistently outperform their competitors in sales, in profits, and in productivity. Good, systematic planning leads to great performance, period.
But you know what? It's not just about the money. The non-financial benefits are absolutely huge. When everyone in the organization gets the strategy, they're more engaged, they're more innovative, and they're way more willing to embrace change. They see how their job fits into the big picture, and man, that is a powerful motivator.
And that brings us to the final takeaway. These ideas don't just apply to giant corporations. They apply to your team, to your projects, even to your own career. It's all about being intentional about where you're going and how you're going to get there. So I'll just leave you with this one question. What's your strategy?